In the last video, which isn't required viewing for this one, we reviewed a bunch of things the Dutch do when building their cities that we could do in Canada, though more specifically, Calgary. And of course, we noted that a few of those things have to be done a little bit differently, and this is largely because of climate. A couple highlights were improved intersection design and changes to driver training, along with the legitimization of other modes of transportation. Many of these would actually be pretty simple to implement. While I'll continue taking you through my trip to the Netherlands, today's video is going to address a few things that are a little less simple, or at least more expensive to implement. I'm Alex, and this is a channel about stealing good ideas to make my city a better place. Starting back in Weert, a small city in the south of the Netherlands, we're on our way to Antwerp, Belgium. But first, we need to get to the train station. We could have taken bikes there, there's a great place to park it, but we opted to walk. On the way there, we saw this robot lawnmower, which I thought was kind of cool, townhomes, apartments, and a nice park that creates a barrier between the train and the homes. And of course, around the train station are some great mixed-use buildings. Shops, apartments, walkable streets, and again, look at that bike parking. We're going to add some contrast here, but first we need context. This train station in Weert is a regional station that serves a city of 50,000 people. We're going to contrast this with local light rail stations in Calgary, a city of 1.5 million people. So yes, different places, different rail technology, blah, blah, blah. But this is horrible land use for a train station, no matter where you are. Where are the restaurants? Where's the patio dining? What about the housing, conveniently located for commuters? Or the offices, conveniently placed for workers? Why is this just a parking lot? The city of Calgary does have some intention to build these into transit-oriented developments, like this one at Anderson Station. But right now, it's really just an idea, yeah, we know we should get to that. But guys, we could make these into great places. I know there are regional passenger trains elsewhere in Canada, but I've never been there. We're talking specifically about Calgary. We don't have this in Calgary. When I talk about building trains in Canada, Alberta, or even just in the Calgary region, this is where people say things like, it would never make its money back, or we're just not as dense, so it wouldn't work here. As far as making its money back, highways don't make their money back either. Transportation isn't about making money, it's about facilitating economic activity. It's a cost center that helps the profit centers, like a company's marketing budget, or even your vacation. You're not expecting to make money out of your vacation. Your sidewalk also doesn't make money, but I think we agree that it's a public good. The density argument I can appreciate a little bit more. You're absolutely right. As a country, we are not even sort of close to being as dense as the Netherlands. If we were, we would have a population of something like 4 billion people in Canada. But we do have cities, and we do have cities that are underserved by transit. And we do have specific routes within the country that really should have trains servicing them. We are not as dense as the Netherlands, though given our lack of trains, we may be more dense in another way. But that's why we wouldn't build trains the same way as the Netherlands. Just as our water management in Alberta involves more dams than dikes, we have to build for our own context. And we already do this with roads. The small little side roads I saw in the Netherlands looked like this, while the country roads in Alberta often look like this. For the same reason, we wouldn't just copy-paste the Dutch rail network onto Calgary. That looked pretty ridiculous. Since I was staying in Weert, a city with about 50,000 people in it, and Weert has a train station, I wanted to see how easily I could connect all the Albertan towns and cities with 50,000 people or more. We have 8 cities that make the cut. Calgary and Edmonton, both with much more than 1 million people, Red Deer and Lethbridge, both around the 100,000 range, and then Airdrie, Fort McMurray, Medicine Hat, and Grande Prairie in the 60 to 80,000 people range. We could connect 6 of these cities on a single line, focusing on the Calgary to Edmonton corridor, which right there you already have more than half of the province's population. You could add on Lethbridge or Medicine Hat in the south, and Fort McMurray or Grande Prairie in the north. I have an upcoming video that'll dive deeper into that discussion, so make sure you're subscribed. For now, let's go off to Antwerp, Belgium. Arriving at Antwerp Centraal, I thought it was really cool that the train platforms are stacked like this, giving the station a smaller footprint in the center of the city. These stairs lead to some bike parking, and these are the city's bike share. I didn't use the bike share, but I saw a lot of people using it. It looks pretty versatile, with a small frame and adjustable height. Also, no battery. Calgary has tried out a bit of a bike share with e-bikes, also with e-scooters, but I've yet to dive into any data on how it's going. I think having docking bikes is a must, honestly, whether they're electric or not. I find it just kind of helps keep things tidier. I liked seeing the trams here as well, and how seamlessly they integrated with the walkable streets. Of course, just like in Weert, there's a church tower here. This tower was especially helpful because Antwerp's streets were very windy. Also, this is apparently the tallest church tower in the Low Countries, which include Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. Like I mentioned in last week's video, clearly identified bike routes are very helpful, and I especially appreciated that these ones are color-coded. I think we were only in Antwerp for about 5 hours or so I didn't get a lot of time to dive deeper into the city or go on tours or anything like that, but I found the architecture quite fascinating and impressive. I was also wondering what the rest of Antwerp is like, because in the center, it was very filled with tourists, and I'd be interested to hear if anybody has any experience with the rest of Antwerp and could maybe shed some light for us in the comments. Well, Antwerp was an open day. This was still a choir trip, and we had a performance to do. So our next performance was in Sint-Oederode. I hope I said that right. Which, can I just say, those people know how to entertain and make you feel welcome. We spent a day here, mostly practiced singing and enjoyed our time with the other choir who hosted us. And they gave us these cute little keychains because they used to make klompen here. My favorite thing I saw here was that while the choirs were practicing in the chapel, people in the square could hear the music coming out the front doors of the church while enjoying their coffee outside. This is the sort of random community building interaction I live for. We don't have many spaces like this in Calgary, but something I have enjoyed since getting rid of my car are the small hellos and smiles I get and give while I'm just out and about. And sometimes I even see friends on transit. These familiar face surprises really brighten my day. The next day we visit Amersfoort to tour this castle. We learned about what things were original to the building, what has been added, and of course how the interior has changed over time. Things change. We preserve some things, add to others, and some things are left to ruin. And I guess there's a certain kind of beauty in that too. We wrapped up our time here with some of the best food I have ever had in my life. It was like a full 5-course meal, and then at the end of the meal, we sang Tulips from Amsterdam to the staff, including the chef and the manager and the wait staff, and we completely butchered it. Like this song, Tulips from Amsterdam, we attempted to sing it in Dutch. We have sung it 100 times before. We know this song. We have this song memorized. But for some reason, when we get in front of this small audience after we've had this beautiful meal and we want to give back to them by singing this very popular Dutch folk song, we just completely ruined the song. And out there somewhere is a video filmed by the chef of this well-meaning Canadian choir completely ruining this song. And I feel so bad because he kept filming it. He didn't, I don't know if he felt too bad, but I could see it on their faces, the disappointment, how much it hurt them to hear us completely ruin this song. But they were so polite and so kind, and most of us laughed about it later, I think. It was funny, but we completely ruined it, and I feel really bad. But if you have that video, please send it to me. The next stop on our journey took us out of the cities and into a protected landscape. Biesbosch National Park. In university, I took a Geography of Protected Landscapes class, where we learned about how different countries steward nature. There are a lot of different philosophies around humans and nature and how we all tie together, but for the purposes of this video, I feel pretty satisfied saying I enjoyed visiting and seeing a space like this in a country that is far dense and different than my own. And of course, I appreciate the natural parks we have in Canada too. Maybe someday we'll take a deeper dive into those, discussing how we interact with the natural world and what part does urbanization play in that, and how do we bring that into our cities. And now it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Kinderdijk. At home, windmills are meant for grinding wheat, and the more modern ones for power generation, just as you've seen in the Netherlands as well. But it was so cool to see these centuries-old windmills actually working and managing the insanely impressive engineering that is Dutch water management. For centuries, the Dutch have been moving water up and out to the ocean, creating new land on which to live. It is absolutely wild. This is why they say, God created the earth, but the Dutch made the Netherlands. On my last video, there were some great comments discussing other ways Dutch infrastructure is impressive. So those, and the other comments bringing insight to what we're talking about here, are absolutely worth a read. One of them linked to this Build the Lanes video, which I'll link in the card here. Our last stop was this small historic village, complete with a wood shop, gardens, and old buildings. This little museum reminded me a lot of Heritage Park here at home. It tells our history, where we come from, how we've done things, and how we got to where we are. Which leads us to the end. As we pack up and finish this little two-part series, I'm thinking about how we're not all that different. We all want to get where we're going. We all want to spend time with the people we love. And we all want to see something beautiful in our day-to-day. The Dutch might pump water out while we hold some of ours in, and we might get frigid winters while they get trenched. And of course our food might be a little different. Apparently Canadians, at least according to the people where we were staying, don't eat enough bread. I had 4 croissants a day while I was there. But all in all, we're about the same. I titled Part 1, Can Canada Do Dutch-style Urbanism? And I think the answer is obvious. Yeah, we can. We just might put our own little spin on it. And you can help make that happen. Show up to your city council meetings, contact your elected officials, and talk about this with friends. Or, if you're weird like me, strangers too. You can start an urbanist YouTube channel. There's lots, but there's not enough. You can start a blog or a podcast. However you're able to get these ideas out to people, do it. Cities are built by people. Let's start building them for people too.